Just wanted to pop on here and have an open discussion, an ascension of the mind, if you will. Many people discuss freedom. Many people believe themselves to be free. I find it very interesting. The concept of freedom varies from different perspectives. In the sense that law enforcement agents feel that it is completely okay and natural to lord over other men and women as though a group of men has mysteriously bestowed upon them a right that no single man has, which is very interesting to me. We talk about liberty. Many people don't realize that liberty is permission to leave the ship. That's what liberty is, okay? And when you look at the Statue of Liberty, many people don't look at the finite details. Fact of the matter is, if you look at the foot of the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, there's a chain attached to that leg. Many people don't even know that. They're absolutely oblivious to that fact. Very interesting. So here we have, in the 21st century, the most remarkable society the world has ever seen. We have, in a nanosecond, in an instantaneous moment almost, we have the ability to communicate around the world. All right? Even though I don't speak Japanese, through technology, I have a means of communication for which a translation can be converted, and I can comprehend and conversate with people that speak Japanese. The general consensus of the populace around the world is that something isn't right. What do we do about it? How do we effectively create a positive change while avoiding physical altercations? I don't know that we can necessarily avoid physical altercations, although I would like to believe in the 21st century, logic and sound reasoning will prevail, absent violence. I think it's doable. I think that the people of the world can do this. We're facetiously ignorant if we think that in America, it's the only thing that matters is America. It starts here. I agree with that. But it definitely doesn't end here, because this is a global issue. Now, the trials and tribulations that I'm facing today are very interesting. It's perplexing on one end because it presupposes that we are free. You see, when the DMV approached me and said, you must register that thing. We'll call it a thing right now. We all know that it's a motorcycle. We're gonna identify it as a thing. Well, who gave them the authority to tell I, a man, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, all while absconding from the very reality of compensating me for my time for performing a task? You know, even when I was a young adolescent, we had chores, and then there were things that were above and beyond chores that we got an allowance. You know, capitalism is what our folks were trying to instill in us. If you apply a little bit of effort, you do a little extra work, there may be some incentive there for you. Okay? Capitalism. There's nothing wrong with capitalism. Quite frankly, it's how things get done. And it gives people something to achieve. All right? This socialism that we're going into nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, is a killer. It's a destroyer of creativity. It's it completely, in my eyes, is immoral. It doesn't give a young man any ambition to drive, to push, to excel, to create, because after all, if all his applied effort gets him the same as everyone else, then what's it worth? Not much. Where is the incentive if all your effort that you apply doesn't help you benefit and protect your family. You know, at the end of the day, we all want to take care of our own, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. So what I'm going through now with the DMV, and I think it's funnier than shit, and I will prevail. No questions asked. This isn't, I can't believe these ignorant fools were even dumb enough to bring such a absolutely ridiculous claim. Ridiculous. Because ultimately what they're telling us in America, in the heart of the United States of America, in the Union State, or Nebraska Union State, which is absolutely protected by the Constitution, okay? And it's a protection put in place that we, the American people, can enforce. What they're actually telling the American people is, you're not free, you're absolutely retarded if you think you are, and we're going to enforce our perception upon you by way of force, threat, duress, and coercion. And if you don't like it, we got a gun-toting moron that will beat you, tase you, pepper spray you, and put your ass in a cage. The founding fathers in the evening literally were mercenaries, euthanizing people with that ideology. The people that were a very threat to the republic, self-governance. And then by day, they were very articulate, well-dressed, well-spoken men who were on a mission. And that mission was to preserve this thing, to create this thing that was worth everything to them. Posterity, freedom. The illusion of freedom was worth their lives. It was worth their wealth. Many of the people around them in that era thought they were loons, crazy, lost their damn marbles. To come against the king, to come against the powers that be, to put a middle finger in the air and say, we ain't taking it anymore. But for some reason, in the 21st century, I don't think many people around the world think that this kind of conversation is crazy anymore. There are a lot of people that are feeling the stress. Keep wearing that burqa on your face. Now, I'm just showing you one religious exemption that you have if you choose to use it, which is under the first, though it's protected by the First Amendment. All right? Which is the right not to wear religious garments. If you don't think that face mask is an Islamic thing pressed upon you through a communist party, I got fucking news for you. It absolutely is. Just, if you don't believe me, go read the Communist Manifesto. I'm not the most brilliant man in the world. I just read a lot. That's all there is to it. And I'm not saying that I'm not flawed in my way of thinking. Perhaps I am. One thing's for certain, though. We can all agree that there's something not right. So, let me ask you this. And this is just food for thought. If an agent and agency can order you to do something and not provide you just compensation and allege there's a contract in place, not being able to prove that there is a contract in place because there's no mutual ascension of the mind, it's not mutually beneficial for both parties involved, is it or is it not slavery? Is it or is it not a rule by force, military occupation? Am I crushing your reality of freedom yet? Am I destroying the grand illusion that you wake up to every morning whistling Dixie, that you're free? Because that's what I'm going through right now. And every red-blooded American should be absolutely mortified, pissed off, and ready to get in the books. Not load your guns, not a call to action like that. The call to action is to become educated, become learned. Start walking the walk, talking the talk. You know, back when they were drumming up the idea of separation from the king, they were meeting in pubs, they were meeting in libraries, they were meeting at each other's houses. Don't you think it's an interesting time that nobody's really allowed to meet for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, Halloween, all these holidays that you're supposed to be with your loved ones where you can speak freely and frankly, and yet you're not allowed to do that anymore. Or at least it's highly advised that you don't, because the invisible boogeyman might get you. If you sacrifice freedom in the name of safety, you will absolutely have neither. That's a truer statement's never been said. It's just daunting almost how quickly we have lost these sound principles and doctrines and walked away from it while we suck up the boob tube. I very rarely turn on one of those things, by the way. Those boob tubes and brainwashing machines. Fuck. Now, I'm up here on a high rise, and I've just been doing a little bit of observation from up here on this top deck. And you know what I find interesting? People are so attached to their phones, their technology. And it's almost, I swear, if medical technology comes to the point where they say, hey, we could put a USB drive in the back of your head and you wouldn't even have to carry that phone anymore. You'd be directly linked to it and you could link up to the cloud. There are people that would be standing in line in a moment's notice to be hooked up like that. They're traveling all day. I've been watching state troopers do it. I've been watching just everybody that pulls up this stoplight. Even as they're pulling up, they're already texting, messaging. The disconnect with the world, living virtually through your technology, it's dangerous. It's an easy way to lose your freedom. Very, very easy way to be corrupted of the mind and lose everything because you're living vicariously through your screen. You're not actually out there enjoying life, the gift of God. It's so glorious, it's so beautiful, and yet we are immersed in technology. They're hell-bent on destroying us. So back to my subject matter here. What say you? In the comments, type below, do you believe that another man has a right to tell another man how, what, where, and when to do something? And if so, if he gives an order, should that man who follows the directive be compensated? Yes or no? I mean, it's really fucking simple. It's really simple. I've said that I can end this whole thing with one question. And I absolutely know I can. It's not even... The point is so poignant. I don't even know that I need to continue on with a dialect. If your first breath of life was a gift from the Creator, I'm saying if it was, I know what it is. I know equivocally for a fact where my first breath came from, okay? Breathing life into my soul, being a sentient, living soul, okay? Not a human being, not a man, a spiritual, sentient soul. That's huge. It's astronomical. It's astronomical. And they don't have the right to lord over it. And try as they might to manipulate the situation by rule of force, justifying their juxtaposition because, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Is that so? Is that so? Because if that's the philosophy these agents and agency have, I won't even say that because it might be insurrectious. Let's just say if a quid pro quo was in order and day after day the force that was exhibited on us by them was turned around and exhibited on them by us, the tides would turn very, very quickly. I'm saying within 3 to 4 hours of the public standing outside their door saying, no more, with a show of physical force imminent, you would see badges drop in a heartbeat. And I'm not talking about euthanizing them. I'm talking, you got an option. You either drop your badge, drop your clown outfit, and join the right side of this thing, and stand with us, or you make a conscious decision to no longer exist. And it could happen that fast. It really would. What's scary about the youth in the military today is they are mindless order followers. And I've talked to some senior police officers, and it breaks my heart because they're starting to see it. They're really starting to see it. They're like, hey, Derek, I got 4 more years, and I can't wait to be out of this. It's morally incomprehensible. I see what you're talking about. I don't agree with everything you say, but I agree with about 90% of what you're talking about. Keep squawking, keep talking. We're appreciating it. We're listening to it. Some of the people think you're absolutely batshit crazy, but you just make too much sense to ignore. But here's the deal. We can't wait to retire. 4 more years. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, about the time you started to wake up is when we need you the most, and we don't want you to retire. Because the next little snickle fritz that comes along is going to be a mindless order follower who doesn't have a damn clue about what's going on. It's going, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Whatever you tell me to do, yes, sir. I'm just here for a paycheck. Yes, sir. Y'all, you want me to just euthanize those men on the wall? You bet. Yes, sir. Here's another thought. While I was in prison, I was held in solitary confinement. I know what solitary confinement is. Okay? They no longer call it solitary confinement. They call it segregation. Doesn't it sound dainty and lovely? We're not in solitary confinement, Derek. We're in segregation. Fuck. With the power of the words changing the political atmosphere by the vocabulary we use, somehow makes that cell not solitary confinement. It's no longer cruel and unusual punishment because it's segregation. They just put a little accent on there. It makes it just sound so pleasant and nice, doesn't it? But the same cell never changes its structure, never changes the paint color, never changes anything, not even the size of the door. Isn't that amazing? Political correctness. Let's just call it what it is. Blatant tyranny. Blatant tyranny by immoral actors. I've often told people that commerce is just a way for people to do sinister things while leaving their morals at the door. That's what titles are. Oh, I'm a judge. I'm righteous. And I'm cloaked and protected with immunity. Well, that presupposes that nobody's above the fucking law, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, hard-hitting points this morning, huh? See, I know, not believe, that no man is above the law, period. I'm not above the law. I enforce the law. I'm far from above the law. All right? And law is really simple. Do unto others what you want done to you, period. You don't like being smacked in the face? Quit smacking people in the face, because eventually somebody's going to catch up with you, and they're going to knock your teeth out of your head. That's how it happens. If you don't like claims being brought against you, then you should probably stop bringing bullshit frivolous claims against others, because you're going to run into somebody that's going to claim a whole lot more than you ever thought you owned. It might leave you as a debtor the rest of your life with an obligation to fulfill to them. When the DMV contacted me, threatened me by way of wire, this Marcus Sabinkin, whatever his name is, okay, pronunciation's irrelevant, really is. He contacted me under the guise, under the fictitious title, these titles of nobility that we were warned about. There's a reason the titles of nobility was there. The founding fathers knew that titles had cloaked people and imprisoned others' minds, thinking, oh my gosh, that guy's royalty. His bloodline is superior to mine. I must be subservient. They realized that titles were an issue. That's why the 13th Amendment was there. No titles of nobility. I don't recognize titles. Mark Sabinkin can call himself a state deputy sheriff all day long. I really could give a shit less. Because at the end of the day, that man threatened me by way of wire. That man owes me, okay, for being careless. And his ignorance of the law isn't an excuse, all right? If you don't do this, then I'm going to bring charges against you. Are you threatening me, Mark? No, I'm not. I got it all recorded. It's funnier than shit. I played it off as though somehow his phone was prohibiting my phone from being able to record him. But I got the recording. Old Marcus. Terroristic threats by way of wire. That's a crime. Cruel and unusual punishment. Ordering somebody to do something without just compensation. Now, I offered many of remedies. The remedies that I offered were good. They were sound. Look, I don't mind following your orders. Just put it in writing and sign your name to it. I mean, after all, Marcus, if it's the fucking law, you shouldn't have a problem. But see, Marcus couldn't do that. His superiors wouldn't do it. The governor wouldn't do it. The attorney general wouldn't do it. The Secretary of State wouldn't do it. And yet somehow you clowns bring a false and fictitious claim against I, the living man, who more than once, on more than one occasion, took the time out of his life to go all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska to provide remedy to any man, woman, or child I'd caused harm, injury, damage, or loss to. And to keep it really simple, to go ahead and have you physically sign the order in front of me and hand it to me. And nobody did that. So what am I guilty of? I'll tell you what I'm guilty of. I am guilty of being a man standing on sound ethics, morals, and principles that doesn't put up with shit from nobody. And that's a problem for them. We have to show these people in this community we mean business, and we're going to put the hammer on that guy because he is rejecting our authority. Many of these people that try and lord over me, I guarantee you would not want to meet me in a dark alley. I promise you that. And if they were to encounter me in a dark alley, I highly doubt they would be talking in such a demeanor that would lead to a physical confrontation. I promise you they wouldn't. That's a guarantee. A lot of these actors, these agents and agency, they like to act big and badass. But when push comes to shove and they ain't hiding behind a badge and they don't have a small army behind them, they're meek as sheep. And truthfully, you don't even have to physically beat them down. You just have to use sound doctrine, logic, and principle. Who are you to tell me what to do, Marcus? See, Marcus, now that you've tried to tell me what to do and you brought this false and fictitious claim using false and fictitious names and all kinds of misdirected language using statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations, you got to prove how all that shit applies to me. And you can't do it. And if it doesn't apply to me, well, guess what, American people? It doesn't apply to the rest of you. Now, again, I'm not here to be insurrectionist or be an enemy belligerent combatant of the United States. I'm not here to create seditious behavior. I'm not here to incite riots or anything like that. I'm just here to tell you that if it doesn't apply to me, maybe you should start asking yourself what you could do with an extra couple $100 a year that you're spending on plates, registration, and tags. What could you do with it? You know, everybody's so quick to go out and vote for the next president, vote for the next senator, vote for the next congressman. And all this fucking voting shit you guys are participating in just makes you a subject slave to the system that you voted for. The blind leading the blind. Man, it is so frustrating. So frustrating. The people that tend to pick up what I'm speaking of, most of them never graduated high school. In fact, some of the sharpest minds I've ever met in my life never made it past 8th, 9th grade. They quit school. They're done. Screw it. We're out. Most of the multimillionaires, which are debt note holder and carriers, most of those people that are independently wealthy that I know never graduated high school. There's something about people that choose to walk away from the socialist indoctrination programs that excel. And what I found interesting about my conversations with these men and women who are absolutely above par brilliant, they were told the same thing I was told as I was walking out the doors. You'll never amount to anything. Without an education, you're never going to amount to shit. And these people are living it up. Living it up. They're critical thinkers. They think outside the box. They're movers and shakers. They make things happen. They're eccentric to the point where it's like a magnet. It just draws you in. You want to be near them because they just exude the essence of greatness in everything they do. They are brilliant in the way that they articulate their failure as a success. And you're going, well, how's a failure a success? Because they were able to identify the things that they did wrong in order to become better. They didn't hang their head in shame. They said, I can't take 2 steps to the left to try and cross that. It doesn't work. I need to go 2 steps to the right and a half a step forward. And that is the curriculum for making it successful. Right there. To be able to utilize failure to succeed. Failure is part of success. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. The court system is all about administering the bankruptcy. It's about securities. It's about negotiable instruments. It's about creating trust. I can say this with great confidence through the extraordinary amount of due diligence that I've been doing. And each and every one of you guys bringing me credible, valuable intel. It's priceless what we've done together. It's absolutely beautiful. You guys have given me such a platform to bring things forward on. It's amazing. I wouldn't be half the man I am today without each and every one of you and the good Lord helping. I'm going to be real honest with you. It's a game changer. It's absolutely amazing what we can do together. We're seeing Reddit, which is a group of people that are deciding to make tactical moves against the bankers, the cartels, okay? These bank cartels, they're the ones moving drugs. They're the ones doing all this shit. Look, they're trying to impeach a man who doesn't even hold the office anymore. Eric Holder was running guns to Mexico, and your fucking border patrol were being gunned down with military-grade artillery. Eric Holder go to prison? Nope. Obama, $1.8 billion to Iran. Aiding and abetting the enemy? Which, I don't know that Iranian people are the enemy. When you look at the conundrum that we're in, you realize that governments are always manufacturing reasons to justify their existence. Because if they didn't create a boogeyman, it wouldn't take but a few years before the American people and the people furthermore of the world realized we ain't funding your cockamamie horse shit anymore. 90% of us are peaceful, and for the 10% that want to get wild and out of hand, well, we all got arms. It wouldn't take long for the system to correct itself. And I think we're starting to see that correction now. By nature, balance must always be had. Evil will only prevail so long before nature comes in and that pendulum swings the other way. It's got to have balance. For every action, there's a reaction, right? And we're starting to see that. Back to the courts, though. Merge the titles, equitable and legal. Collapse the trust. Be the beneficiary of the cess decay. Collect your damn check. Tip your hat. Pleasure doing business with you. There is no controversy. I don't care what those papers over there say. I could give a shit less. That's a distraction. All I need to see is a man or woman bring forward a claim. I'm here to provide remedy. As a man standing in honor, there are no facts in dispute. You want to know why there's no facts in dispute? Because there are no facts in the damn case. It's all hypotheticated horse shit. presumed and assumed to apply to me. Doesn't matter. It's not applicable. And again, I can end the whole thing with one question. One flipping question. And this isn't the first time that I've publicly come out and told them that I can end it with one question. And I've done it. How do we help our fellow brothers and sisters see the truth about kidnapping, about human trafficking, the trafficking of children? The court systems of the world are the largest human traffickers, all while hiding under the guise that they're there for your safety. Sounds like a Gestapo to me. I mean, I once told a judge, I've done business with the mob before and they're more honorable than you fucks. And I wasn't joking when I said it. The mob does business more honorably than the government. And that's not a joke. That's the reality of the situation. Why? Well, because they like doing business. See, the government just don't care, because if you don't agree with them, they'll just force you to do what they want. Or they'll put you in a cage. They'll get rid of you. They'll make you disappear. They might Epstein your ass. Does that sound like a free society to you? And what say you? Don't you have a right not to participate in a society? But in the 21st century, we're clearly being told that if you don't participate with us, you just can't do anything. You can't even exist. Your existence is moot. It's null and void. The good Lord have you here for no frickin' reason, because you're not a willing participant of our system, no matter how demonic it may be. Are you an accessory after fact of innocent women and children being bombed in other countries because you're a taxpayer? That thought ever crossed your mind? I mean, if I drive a couple guys to the bank, I don't necessarily know their intent. They come back to the car and go drive, and I drive away, and they got stacks of cash with them. Am I not an accessory after the fact? What if I harbor a couple people and I have no idea what their past is, but the good nature of myself, I allow them to stay with me, and later on, they try to get me for, let's just say, harboring a fugitive. Am I guilty of anything? Did I have prior knowledge that they had something going on in their life? Allegedly? What say you? If you're paying taxes and blindly giving your energy to cretins, to chimos, to pedophiles, to thieves, to lying, looting, pandering pieces of shit that you're voting for, are you guilty of aiding and abetting? Are you guilty of murder by association? I mean, so often they like to throw it in our face. Dirk, you know, you just got to change the people you're hanging out with, or you're always going to be in these courts. Well, I changed the people I was hanging out with, and guess what? I'm still in and out of the courts, so that must not have been the problem either. What's your answer to it now? Well, Dirk, you see, you just think too much. We just need you to tone down the thinking. Stop thinking. We'd really appreciate if you'd stop reading those books that tell you what we're supposed to actually be doing, because we'll tell you what we're supposed to do, and you're just going to listen to us. It's that kind of rhetoric that just drives me absolutely batshit insane. I've battled with them all my life, and we'll continue to keep up the good fight, because it ain't going anywhere anytime soon. This didn't develop overnight. It's been here from the beginning, and if you don't believe me, the good book even talks about lawyers. Matthew 24 and 25. Come on. Man. I had this preconceived notion like 3-4 years back. Oh, I knew when the beginning was. It was in 1306, you know, the Unum Sanctum. That's the beginning. And then there was 1666, you know, the Cestui Que Vie Act. Oh, yeah, I got this figured out. I know exactly when mankind was enslaved. Mankind has been enslaved from the very fucking beginning. There were lawyers back then, just like there's lawyers today. Those lawyers speak with forked tongues. They always have. They always will. Because they profit from your misery they create by mass confusion, which leads to mass manipulation. A good percentage of the people in the local environment where I'm at think I'm batshit crazy until agents and agency try to lord over them. And they go, well, I wasn't doing anything wrong. What's that guy's name again? It's always on Facebook making crazy videos. I want to talk to that guy. This guy, I got to tell him my story, what they're doing to me. Because, see, the only time that they really give a shit is when it affects them. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that guy ain't batshit crazy anymore. Now they're accosting me against my will and I didn't hurt anybody. How do I help myself? How do I defend myself? How do I protect my friends and my family? I'd like to know what that guy knows now. I'm telling you, when you're getting a hold of me and you're already ensnared in their trap, it's really hard to fight your way out. One, you'll lack conviction in the things that I'm telling you. So why I do these videos is preventative maintenance and to help you guys think logically, rationally. Clean hands, sound doctrines, good morals, sound principles, ethics. It's really simple shit. It's all stuff that we learned in kindergarten. Keep your hands and feet to yourself. If it don't belong to you, don't touch it. Huh? But as far as banking and negotiable instruments, we all need to learn about that. That system I don't see changing anytime soon at all. Under the Paper Reduction Act, everything's through electronic fund transfers now and things of that nature. But I don't see it ever changing. I can't possibly... Look, there's too many paper pushers in the world that would have to learn a trade or a craft or a skill to remove the banking system. There's just no way it's going to do it. There are so many people that would be impoverished overnight, not being able to push paper, ones and zeros. So I just don't see, and maybe I'm wrong. Leave it in the comments below. I could be horribly wrong. I just don't see a positive outcome of collapsing the banking system. Look, crypto exists because they allow it to exist. Let's be honest about that. People that have kid themselves and think that crypto is this magical thing that nobody else can control. I'm telling you right now, if the U.S. military wants to shut down crypto land, crypto is gone in a fucking New York second. All right? The government has already proved that they can hack Bitcoin. They've already done it. They can shut it down. They can tell all the banks, the banking cartels can turn around and say, nobody exchange FRN notes or currency from any land or nation in exchange for cryptocurrency, and poof, crypto's gone. Just like that. We can't do an exchange with it. You can't go to the store with it. You can't do anything with it. Nobody will use it anymore. So this whole crypto thing is funny. You're better off using wampum, beads, beaver pelts, raccoon hats, something physically tangible that has a source or at least is a resource that you could do even exchange and fair trade with. You're better off owning silver and freaking gold. Why do I say that? It's biblical. In the beginning, there was gold and silver, and God saw that it was good. You just can't argue that stuff. And it's been there for 10,000 years, and it will continue to be there for another 10,000 years. It will always be there. In fact, some of the movers and shakers that I know, when they fly out of this country, they carry on them, upwards of $60,000 to $80,000 worth of jewelry. And I asked one day, why do you wear all that gaudy jewelry? Ugh. Well, you see, when I go over to London, Derek, if I was to load up a suitcase with about 80 to 90 grand, I would immediately be red flagged. But see, when I wear all this fancy jewelry, they don't say anything about it. And if push comes to shove in another country, and I have this, it holds value. Whereas if I just had FRN notes, it might not be accepted in the other country that I'm in. But these emeralds, these diamonds, these rubies, this silver, this platinum chain, this gold coin, well, they're accepted worldwide, internationally, everywhere I go. Brilliant, absolutely genius the way they choose to travel. And her reasoning for having all that gaudy jewelry on, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. And it goes to show that anywhere you go in the world, those precious metals will always be received. They might be questioned as to their authenticity, but once they are qualified, there is no doubt in anybody's mind that, sure, we'll get you out of this country. Give us that platinum necklace. We can get you on the next plane out of here, no problem. That's food for thought. I learned from a wealthy mentor one time. He says, Derek, money in the bank is worthless. And I asked him, it's like, what do you mean by that? He goes, Derek, I don't have any money in the bank. Well, what the hell do you do with it all? And he goes, Derek, it's a game of assets. I buy assets that mature in value over time. At the time, I was very young, was naive, and I'm thinking, classic cars. And he's like, classic cars are all right, but too much liability. You got to warehouse them, you got to store them somewhere, too much liability. There's really, don't get me wrong, they're a nice asset to have, but they're really a liability more than they are an asset. He says, Derek, an asset never costs you anything. An asset appreciates in value and doesn't cost you anything. And I said, so you talk about like a house. He goes, no, a house requires maintenance, upkeep. It's not an asset, it's a liability. Okay, so what kind of assets are you talking about that you invest in? Because your money, as you say, in a bank is worthless. Art, rare instruments, things that don't take up much space but are absolutely freaking priceless. That's what he was telling me. So a lot of these people, these very, very wealthy entrepreneurs, realize that it's not about money in the bank account. It's about assets, and it's about things that appreciate and accrue value while costing you nothing to maintain. Art hanging on the wall costs you nothing, not a damn thing. And because of that, that asset continues to mature in value. And no matter what currency takes over the next banking collapse, undoubtedly that rare art will be valuable. Isn't that amazing? So that was kind of a cool lesson that I got from one of my wealthy mentors about assets and not leaving money lay in a bank because it's worthless in a bank. Absolutely worthless. What else? What else are we going to talk about here? I guess my main topic today was just talking about the DMV, which is a private corporation, for-profit, trying to lord over I, a man, which should cause all you guys concerns. I'll prevail in this. I have no questions about it. It's not that I care less how they try to manufacture this. But when they do these things, it's important for you to bring a claim. And how do you bring your claim? Notice and opportunity. And we're going to give them plenty of notice and opportunity before we go and we clean their clocks. And when we clean their clocks, I'm not even going to leave them a pair of underwear, because enough is enough. And when I'm done, it's not going to be I told you so moment, because one of the requirements to fulfill and satisfy their obligation to me now for their trespass, which continues to be a trespass to this day, under the guise that they were just doing their job, one of the requirements is they're going to have to get an education. And they're going to have to prove that they got a qualified, sound education in the Constitution and the law. I just think it's fair. We can't have idiots wandering around our community. We can't allow them to be idiots and continue to wander around our community. Flipping burgers, they're still dangerous if they're fucking stupid. They're still dangerous if they're stupid. That's just a fact. What's even scarier is these gun-toting morons have lethal weapons on their person, and they're absolutely fucking dumber than a doornail. It's just insanity to me. Order followers, mindless order followers who took an alleged oath and have never read the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution was written in layman's terms, and it's not to be interpreted. It is written very, very clear. There is no interpretation needed on shall not be infringed, period. Okay, that's just a simple one. That's a real simple one. You have the right to gather in a peaceful assembly and express your grievances. It's simple. Nobody needs to interpret that. These lawyers, these legislators would have you believe otherwise. Well, see, I went to Yale, and at Yale we learned that this document is in fact interpretable, and we believe, which is a lack of knowledge, that this is how it should read. Take your opinion, water it up, and stick it right up your ass. Because it's so simple, I can explain this to a 9-year-old kid. They can read that Constitution in plain English and know what the hell it is. It's not hard, all right? That Constitution doesn't coffer you or grant you any rights at all. It is the line in the sand that the government is to abide by and is restricted by. Period. Period. And we've got to get back to enforcing it. We're the ones that are derelict in our duty, because we do have a duty, and our duty is to keep them in check. So thank you for joining me all. I appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. In closing, if I don't have a right to tell another man what to do, absent a contract, absent a payment, what say you? Does any agent and agency have the right to tell you what the fuck to do? Absent a contract, absent a payment? Thanks for joining me. Love you guys. God bless.